The last time someone broke Rule 6, we never found their body. But the projector kept playing their footage. I wasn't looking for something haunted. I just needed a job. It started with a Craigslist ad so sketchy it barely felt legal. Night shift cleaner needed, 30-hour, no experience necessary. Must follow instructions without question. That last part should have been the warning. But when your bank account is down to its final $63 and the rent clock's ticking, you don't think twice. You just click apply. 12 hours later, I got the address in old theater no one remembered, tucked behind an abandoned strip mall. No flashy signs, no working lights, just a faded marquee that looked like it hadn't changed since the 80s. And when I stepped inside, I swear the air felt different. Not colder, not musty, just wrong. The guy who met me was dressed like he hadn't updated his uniform since Reagan was in office. Called himself Mr. Gray. Said no orientation, no HR, no contract, just a set of laminated rules. 7 at first. I remember reading them, thinking this was some kind of performance art prank. One of them literally said, "Do not enter Theater 6 after midnight, no matter what you hear inside." I laughed. Mr. Gray didn't. That was my first mistake. And now 3 weeks later, I don't even know if I'm still me. The rules weren't warnings. They were a script. And someone or something is watching how well I follow it. So if you're hearing this, remember one thing. The job isn't the curse. The building is, and it wants an audience. Now I know why there's always a vacancy on the night shift. Because eventually, the theater writes you in. The building doesn't care about resumes. It only wants obedience. The ad felt like bait. 30-hour. No experience. Night shift. Must follow all instructions. It showed up on Craigslist like a glitch, no company name. No contact info. I refreshed the page. It was gone. I was 3 weeks unemployed. Rent overdue. Credit card howling. I clicked apply before I could talk myself out of it. Within the hour, I got a reply. A simple sentence, Crescent Theater. 10:30 p.m. Ask for Mr. Gray. The Crescent Theater was a ghost, tucked behind a dead strip mall, half its letters missing from the marquee. I remember standing out front, wondering if I was being punked. But curiosity and desperation have sharp teeth. Inside smelled like wax and dust. And something sweeter, like burnt syrup clinging to old air. The lobby was dead silent, like time had stopped. And then he appeared. Mr. Gray. Polished vest. Crisp collar. Eyes like faded glass. He didn't greet me. Just handed me a laminated rules sheet, yellowed at the corners. 7 rules. 1 in bold red. There is no Theater 9. I asked him if this was a joke. He didn't laugh. He just said, "Follow the rules, and you'll survive the night." Most places ask if you can lift 50 pounds. This one asked if I could stay quiet when something knocked from inside a locked door. I should have walked out right then. But I didn't. There was something about the quiet, about the way the lights above the lobby flickered, not broken, not dim, just off, like the building was breathing in its sleep. The kind of place that made your skin crawl not from what you saw, but from what you didn't. I stood there holding the laminated sheet Mr. Gray gave me. The plastic felt sticky in my hand. Not wet, just used. Like it had been passed around too many times. Like too many hands had clutched it before deciding to stay. 7 rules. Each more insane than the last. Do not enter Theater 6 after midnight, no matter what you hear inside. If Theater 2 is already unlocked when you arrive, lock it immediately. Do not look inside. There is no Theater 9. That one again. Bold. All caps. The logic part of my brain said this was a joke, some local art project, viral marketing stunt. But the rest of me, the part that had grown up with urban legends and chain emails that whispered, if you don't forward this, she'll crawl out of your mirror. That part wasn't laughing. Mr. Gray's face didn't move as I scanned the rules. He just said, sign here. Print your name. Today's date. Initial under I understand the rules provided. No contract. No orientation video. No training manual. Just a pen. And a smile that didn't reach his eyes. The strangest thing, I still signed. Not because I believed it. Not even because I needed the money. But because something about the rules felt familiar. Like an old bedtime story I'd forgotten until now. Like I'd already broken one. And didn't even know it yet. And when Mr. Gray handed me the keys, I swear I saw something behind him. Just for a second. A shape in the reflection of the ticket counter glass. Still. Watching. It looked like me. They don't punish you for breaking the rules. Not at first. They let you think you got away with it. The first shift was quiet. Too quiet. Not the kind of quiet that brings peace, but the kind that presses in on you, that makes your ears ring because there's nothing else to hear. I clocked in with a mechanical punch machine that hadn't been updated since 1987. The card slipped in, stamped the time, and beeped with a flat sound like a dying microwave. 11:00 p.m. Right on time. The janitor's cart was already waiting for me. Fully stocked. Bleach. Mop. Gloves. A fresh pair of earplugs still sealed in plastic. And the rules still laminated. Still yellowing were taped to the side like a checklist I'd never asked for. I started with the lobby. Swept up popcorn so old it cracked underfoot. The tile was sticky, the air thick like syrup. I mopped in silence, not daring to hum. It felt like something was listening for noise. Then I made my first mistake. I peeked into Theater 3. The rules hadn't said anything about it. Not one mention. That's what made it safe. Or so I thought. Just a glance. That's all I did. A single step forward. Enough to see the red seats lined up in perfect rows like soldiers. The screen was blank. The room was cold. But something in me shifted the moment I crossed the threshold. Like the building took note of it. Logged it. Not punished. Not yet. Just acknowledged. At 5:47 a.m., I stood at the exit door, keys in hand. I hesitated, because even though the shift was over, I felt like I hadn't finished something, like I was leaving a stage before my cue. That's when I realized the scariest part wasn't the rules. It was how quickly I started treating them like scripture. It didn't feel like I broke a rule. It felt like I was being watched the moment I thought about it. The second night should have been routine. I walked in at 10:58 p.m. Same smell, same lights, same silence. But Theater 2 was unlocked. I froze in place. That wasn't supposed to happen. Rule 3. If Theater 2 is already unlocked when you arrive, lock it immediately. Do not look inside. Simple. Right. But the door wasn't just unlocked, it was slightly ajar. Open maybe 2 inches. Just wide enough to see that faint, pulsing blue light inside. Like a dying TV screen. I told myself I could just shut it. No harm. No glance. But the second my hand touched the door, I heard it. A scraping sound. Slow. Deliberate. Like something dragging itself across the sticky floor. I couldn't breathe. I didn't look inside. I just slammed the door shut and turned the key. But something followed me the rest of that shift. Not a sound. Not a shape. Just this feeling like reality had warped a degree to the left, The floor tiles didn't look the same. The hallway near Theater 5 was longer. I passed a poster I swore wasn't there before. Coming soon. Echoes of the Forgotten. I didn't recognize the movie. I didn't recognize the names. My phone showed 2:17 a.m., but the wall clock read 11:44. I stopped trusting time. I stopped trusting my memory. That was the first time I realized this job doesn't test your discipline. It tests your perception. And mine was already starting to slip. The knock wasn't just sound. It was intention. It happened around 3:11 a.m. My third night in. I was hauling a trash bag down the rear hallway near the emergency exit. Lights here buzzed louder than usual, almost angry. The silence between those flickers, suffocating. Then I heard it. One knock. Sharp. Precise. Two more. Deliberate. Rhythmic. Like it was waiting to be answered. My chest went tight. My brain started flipping through the laminated rules taped to the janitor cart. Rule 4. If someone knocks on the emergency exit from the inside, do not respond. From the inside. But how that door was sealed from the outside. No handle. No panic bar. No way back in if you exited. So how the hell could someone knock from that side? Then came the voice. Hello, female. Young. Breathless. I think I got locked in. Please. Can you hear me? I didn't move. Please, she said, sobbing now. It's cold. I can't feel my legs. And then, she said my name. Eli. Please. I know you're there. I nearly dropped the trash bag. I hadn't told anyone I worked here. No one had called me by name since I started. Not even Mr. Gray. Every cell in my body screamed at me to run, but my legs stayed rooted. Like something bigger than me wanted me to listen longer. Her voice changed, slightly deeper, just enough to register as wrong. Let me in. I turned and walked away. Didn't look back. Didn't breathe until I reached the lobby. The next morning, a note was folded on my cart. Good. You listened. Not everyone does. That's when I knew the theater wasn't testing my courage. It was testing my obedience, and it was keeping score. She didn't walk in. She was just there. The fourth night. The lobby wasn't empty. She was perched on the edge of the concession counter, legs swinging like she'd been waiting for hours, hoodie too big. Red with the old Crescent Theater logo faded across the chest. Auburn curls messy like she'd just walked through a storm. She grinned at me like I was late to a party I didn't know was happening. You must be the new guy, she said. I froze. There weren't supposed to be other staff. Mr. Gray never mentioned anyone. I hadn't seen a single shift overlap. No other names on the time card punchboard. I'm Harper, she said casually, like we were co-workers on break, not alone in a haunted building. How come I haven't seen you before? She shrugged. I only show up when the rules change. That sentence stopped everything. They change. Harper slid off the counter. Her steps were silent. You thought the list was permanent, she whispered. The theater's alive. Eli. The rules grow. They react. Sometimes they punish. Sometimes they warn. Before I could speak, she nodded toward the back hall. You need to check Theater 7 tonight. I stared at her. That's not on the list. She smiled without joy. It is now. And then she was gone. No sound. No footsteps. Just absence. But that wasn't the part that got me. What got me was how right it felt. Like somewhere deep down, I already knew the rules weren't set in stone. They were watching me too. and I was starting to understand this place doesn't operate on logic. It operates on attention. Break that balance even slightly and it notices. Sometimes the room appears because you've already decided to enter it. Harper's warning echoed long after she vanished. The hallway toward Theater 7 didn't look the same that night. It felt stretched. Each step pulled farther than it should have. Ceiling lights flickered one by one like dominoes failing behind me. The door to Theater 7 was matte black. No placard. No handle. Cold to the touch. I shouldn't have opened it. But I did. The rules didn't say I couldn't. Not yet. The darkness inside was unreal, not just absence of light, but the kind that swallowed my flashlight beam. Like it wasn't shining into the room, but being consumed by it. 2 steps in. Still no sound. No echo. Just the whisper of something vast behind the walls. And then static. The screen at the front of the theater, which I hadn't seen at all, flickered for a split second. One violent burst of noise and light. A single frame. It felt like it hit me. Not the room. My ears popped. My chest clenched. My body tensed like I'd been shocked. I backed out immediately. Didn't run. Didn't look back. Just left. Back at the janitor cart. There was a new rule laminated and taped like it had always been there. Rule 8. Do not enter Theater 7 unless instructed. If the screen flickers, leave immediately. Do not wait for the second flicker. There hadn't been a second flicker. But the rule didn't feel like protection. It felt like a warning delivered too late. The worst part, I couldn't remember what I saw on that screen. But my head hurt for hours. And my shadow lagged behind me the rest of the night, just a heartbeat too slow. Like something else had stepped out and tried to match me. The screen didn't just show me, it knew I was watching. It started when I passed Theater 4 during my usual route. The door was cracked open slightly, just enough to let the faintest amber glow spill across the hallway carpet. I hesitated. Rule 7 burned in the back of my mind like a quiet alarm. If the screen in Theater 4 turns on by itself, sit and watch. Do not leave until the movie ends. I should have walked away. I didn't. Peering inside, I saw the screen already playing a sepia-toned film. Grainy and oddly still. A man sat alone at a table in a kitchen washed in gray light. No movement. No dialogue. Just the constant hum of static beneath the surface. At first, I thought it was some experimental short something forgotten in the projection booth. But then my stomach twisted. That kitchen. I knew that kitchen. The chipped tile. The crooked lamp. Even the dent in the fridge door. This wasn't a movie. It was my kitchen. And the man. He was me. Older. Tired. Haunted. His face looked like it had forgotten how to feel anything. I stepped inside, unable to stop myself. The door clicked shut behind me like it had been waiting to trap me. I sat, center row, heart pounding like thunder beneath skin. For 10 minutes, the man on screen didn't move. He simply stared forward, occasionally blinking. The silence grew heavier with each second, and then he moved. Not subtly, not cinematically. He turned, deliberately, and looked straight through the grainy film, into my eyes. I couldn't breathe. His smile unfurled like something broken, like his face had forgotten how to wear one correctly. And then he stood. Everything in my body screamed to run, but I couldn't move. Couldn't even close my eyes. And that was when it hit me. He wasn't acting. He was mirroring. That's the last thing I remember. When I woke up, I was lying on the cold tile in the lobby. My watch had stopped. My phone was dead. A new rule had been taped to the janitor's cart. Its plastic edges curled like it had been waiting Rule 9. If the figure on the screen stands, do not blink. Do not look away. Do not move. But I had blinked. I had looked away. And now, he wasn't just on the screen anymore. I saw him again the next night. Not in a theater, but in the soda machine's reflection standing right behind me, smiling like he'd never stopped. Not all rules are written down. Some are whispered, after it's already too late. Harper came back 3 nights later. But this wasn't the Harper I remembered. Her hoodie hung from her shoulders like it was trying to escape her frame. Her hair was limp, her skin pale, her hands trembling like she hadn't slept in days. She didn't say hi, didn't smile. Just sat silently on the bench near the lost and found cabinet, staring at it like it might speak again. "He started writing again," she murmured, almost too quiet to hear. I asked who. She didn't blink. The projectionist. Something about that name made the air feel colder. "Don't open the lost and found tonight," she said, still looking at the cabinet. "No matter what you hear, no matter what it says, that thing lies in your voice." I opened my mouth to ask what she meant, but she was already walking away, vanishing like she'd never really been there. At exactly 3:03 a.m., the cabinet began to rattle, not violently, but deliberately. Like something inside wanted me to know it was patient. Then came the voice. "Eli." It was my voice. Perfect pitch. Perfect breath. Perfect hesitation. "You forgot your keys." I patted my pocket. They were there. "Please, don't leave me in here." The metal frame groaned like it was breathing. Then it whispered, "It's cold. Eli, I can't feel my legs. I just want to come home." The voice cracked, not from pain, but from memory. I backed away, every instinct begging me to run. But part of me wanted to open it, because it sounded so much like me. By morning, another laminated rule was taped to the lobby light switch, Rule 12. If the lost and found speaks to you, ignore it. Its contents are not yours anymore. That line hit harder than any other rule. Because it meant someone had opened it before, and whatever they found in there used to be them. Later that day, I walked past the employee roster on the office wall. Harper's name had been scratched out with thick red ink. No one had done that before. No one had even touched that board. But her name wasn't there anymore. Like the building had decided she was no longer staff, just part of it. The theater didn't just want me to watch. It wanted me to understand that I had been part of the film all along. It started Thursday night, just past 2:00 a.m., when the projector in Theater 6 turned on by itself. That wasn't new, but what it showed that changed everything. It wasn't a horror reel, or surveillance, or another weird tape from nowhere. It was a home video. Shaky footage, familiar laughter, a birthday party, my birthday. The camera panned across streamers, cheap plastic tableware, a homemade cake. People clapped. My younger self blew out 7 candles. And then the film glitched. The image warped, then snapped back. The balloons were deflated. The cake was mold. The people were gone. And in the corner, just out of focus, someone stood, facing away, motionless. The screen flickered again, and now it was my old living room decayed. Wrong. Like someone had rebuilt it from memory and left it to rot. That figure was still there. Only now, it was turning. Slowly. Deliberately. toward me. I bolted from the room, but the theater had changed. The hallways no longer led where they used to. The walls were closer, the air heavier. I ran to the lobby, but the monitors weren't showing movie trailers anymore. They were showing me. Every rule I'd broken, every moment I hesitated, every second I looked away. And then, I saw something worse. A reel of footage I'd never lived through. Me standing in Theater 9, me handing over the notebook, me smiling with that same impossible grin the man in Theater 4 wore. It was a future that hadn't happened, not yet. And in that instant, it hit me like ice water in my lungs. The rules weren't warnings. They were the script, and I was never the audience. I was the performance. The door behind me creaked open. I didn't turn, because I knew who was standing there. And they'd been watching all along. I saw myself, not in a mirror, not in a dream, but in the hallway walking toward me. It happened right after I left the projection booth, still shaken from what I'd seen on screen. The hallway ahead stretched longer than usual, like the building was holding its breath. I turned the corner and froze. I was already standing there. Same hoodie, same shoes, same breath pattern. Every detail matched, except for the eyes. The other me smiled, but it wasn't a smile I knew how to make. Too wide, too calm, like it had done this before. Rule 16 hit me like a bullet. If you see yourself inside the building while you are still inside the building, leave immediately. One of you is not supposed to be there, but I didn't know how to leave. The hall behind me had vanished. The exit was just gone. The double tilted its head. "You're almost done," it whispered. I didn't move. "But we can't both finish the show." Its voice wasn't mine, but it wore the shape of my voice like a mask. I backed up, heart hammering in my throat. That's when I saw the notebook on the floor between us, open to a blank page. A pen rested beside it. My hand moved on its own. I wasn't writing anymore. I was being written. The theater hadn't been recording memories. It had been rehearsing replacements. I dropped the pen. The double lunged. I didn't scream. I couldn't. Everything went black. When I opened my eyes, I was in Theater 1, alone. But my reflection in the glass door smiled at me with his smile. And I finally understood the truth. The version of me who followed the rules didn't survive. He became the next one to enforce them. The worst part wasn't realizing the rules controlled me. It was realizing they remembered every version of me that didn't survive. The night I found Theater 9, everything stopped pretending. It had no number on the door, just black paint peeling like dead skin. Inside, there weren't rows of seats. There was no screen. Just a corridor of warped walls, flickering between different realities. Sometimes it looked like backstage. Sometimes it looked like my childhood bedroom. Once, it looked like my grave. Each step I took, the air pulsed with memory. Not mine. Versions of me I never lived, but somehow remembered. I heard my own voice whispering rules I'd never seen before. If the script changes mid-performance, improvise only what the theater allows. If you reach the spotlight and there's no audience, perform anyway. They're watching from somewhere deeper. At the end of the corridor was a stage, empty, waiting. A single chair under a flickering spotlight, and the notebook open to the last page. There was already something written in handwriting I didn't recognize, but felt like mine. Final rule. If you realize you've been here before, don't say it out loud. The theater hates reruns. I sat in the chair. Everything went silent. Not quiet, empty. like the world had paused just to see if I'd breathed the wrong way. Then the curtain rose. There was no applause. Only the projectionist's voice, one I had never heard but always known whispering from the rafters. "This is the final audition. Remember your lines. Forget your name." A spotlight hit me in the chest. I couldn't move. Footsteps echoed behind me. A reel clicked into motion. And then I saw it on the invisible screen ahead. A version of me standing over this exact chair, watching me perform. He looked older, hollow, and he mouthed something I couldn't hear, but I understood it anyway. "You were never chosen. You were recycled." My name slipped from memory like smoke, and the theater began to clap. It didn't end when the lights went out. It never does. The first thing I noticed when I woke up wasn't where I was. It was the silence. Not peace. Vacuum. The kind of stillness that vibrates against your skull because something sacred has been broken. I was back in the manager's office. Mr. Gray's chair. His desk. His nameplate was gone. In its place sat a black notebook, unopened. The first page was blank. Taped beside it, a note, Rule 1. Never let them know you're afraid. They can smell it. Everything was ready for my shift, but I didn't remember driving here. Didn't remember leaving. Didn't remember who I was before the curtain rose. The theater had kept me outside. The theater's old marquee flickered to life. It read, "Now playing the one who stayed." And beneath it, no times listed, because the performance never ends. Every hallway feels longer now. Every door opens slower. The seats in Theater 4 are always warm. The figure on the screen doesn't wait for the movie to start anymore. It stares, from the beginning. Sometimes I hear footsteps when I know I'm alone. Other times, I hear my own voice behind me giving orders I haven't said yet. Harper's name is gone from every record. Her hoodie sits in the lost and found, folded perfectly, even though the cabinet is always locked. There's no new staff, no day shift, no escape clause. Just the rules, growing, watching. I don't sleep much anymore. Not because I'm scared, because the dreams look exactly like the theater. And I can't tell which version of me is still dreaming. They say trauma fades, but not here. Here, trauma breathes. It evolves. It writes. And now I'm the one holding the pen. Somewhere along the way, I stopped being a person. I became the echo. I think about that a lot, how you can live so long inside a place that it starts living inside you. I don't mean metaphorically. I mean literally. Like I can feel the building breathing through my lungs, its silence in my throat, its hunger behind my eyes. Every night, I unlock the front doors. Every night, the lights flicker on. But it's not just routine. It's ritual. The same playlist hums through the speakers, distorted lullabies, warped reels that never end. Sometimes I catch voices whispering under the static. One of them is mine, asking questions I haven't asked yet. I don't see customers. There are no tickets sold. But I sweep the lobby. I wipe the glass. I make popcorn. And every night, when the projector clicks on by itself, I don't ask why, because I already know. Theaters aren't meant to be empty. Something always watches, even if it's just the past wearing your face. Sometimes, I find rules I didn't write, in handwriting that matches mine exactly. Other times, the rulebook bleeds through blank pages like it's trying to tell me something it's not allowed to say directly. Rule 21. If the lights in Theater 6 flicker in Morse code, write it down. It's trying to warn you. Warn me about what I don't know anymore. Maybe it's not warning me. Maybe it's trying to wake up. And I'm the dream it's trapped inside. I don't leave at sunrise anymore. I just pause until the next show begins. Because in here, you don't clock out. You fade. They think I manage a building, but I manage silence. I manage memory. I manage what's left of myself. There are nights I stare into the mirror in the lobby bathroom and don't blink for 10 straight minutes. Not because I'm afraid of what I'll see, because I'm afraid it'll blink first. The reflection has been wrong lately. It's subtle, barely there. A slight delay, a tilt of the head I didn't make. But I see it. The theater sees it. And it's waiting. Waiting for me to finally forget which one is real. Because maybe I'm not. I found a note last week in Theater 5. Not a rule. A message, scratched into the seat back with something sharp. You were always here. You just didn't know it yet. The worst part, it felt comforting. Like I was finally being honest with myself. I don't remember the Craigslist ad anymore. Or how many weeks I've been here. Or what my apartment smells like. The idea of outside feels theoretical now. Distant. Like an old dream retold too many times to be trusted. Every story ends. But this one loops. And maybe that's what makes it horror, not the blood or ghosts or monsters. But the realization that you were never the audience. You were the theater. The film. The rule book. The cursed shift that never ends. So when the lights go dim and the projector hums back to life, I don't resist. I stand behind the glass. I load the reel. I hit play, because I've always known how this ends. And worse, I've known it doesn't. You never really know how fragile your mind is, until something cracks it open. That's what I learned. Not from a textbook, not from some online forum, but from a place that shouldn't exist. A place that rewrites the rules of reality and watches who breaks them. What happened inside that theater, it wasn't just horror. It wasn't ghosts, monsters, or the cliché shadows in the dark. It was something more dangerous, a system. A machine. A living set of rules that punished you not for fear, but for disobedience. And once you've been seen by something like that, you're never unseen again. I used to think fear meant running, screaming, but true fear. Real. Soul-deep fear. It's silence. It's standing still while your name is whispered from a voice that sounds like your own. It's watching yourself do something you never did, in a place that was never supposed to exist. The lesson: never ignore the unease, never brush off the impossible. If something feels wrong, if reality feels like it's skipping frames, you're not crazy. You're catching the glitch. And that glitch might be the only warning you get. I'm not saying don't take the night shift. I'm saying pay attention to the places no one talks about. The abandoned wings. The doors without handles. The cameras that face the wrong direction. And if someone gives you a list of rules, even if they sound insane, read them twice. Then ask yourself, what happened to the last person who broke them? This isn't just my story. It's a warning. A whisper from someone who barely made it out. And even now, I'm not sure I did make it out. Because sometimes I still hear the intercom music. I still see that door in my dreams, the one marked with a number that doesn't exist. And I've learned one final thing. If a place demands a performance, it's not entertainment. It's sacrifice. So if you ever find yourself walking into a quiet job with strange hours, stranger rules, and no one to answer your questions, don't just ask what you're being paid. Ask what it's costing you. Because by the time you notice the price, it might already be too late. So if you ever see a theater still running after midnight, don't go in. Even if the lights are on. Even if the doors are wide open. Even if the sign outside says, "Help Wanted." Especially then. Because some places don't want staff. They want sacrifices. And if you're lucky, you'll just be the one who walks away with a story. If you're not, you'll become part of the script. Part of the rules. Another face behind the glass smiling when it shouldn't, waiting for the next name to be added to the list. And trust me, it doesn't take long before you forget you were ever someone else. This isn't just a ghost story. It's a warning. For anyone who's ever felt like they were just doing their job, wondering why time feels broken and reality tastes like old film. If that's you, maybe you've already started the shift. And maybe this story found you for a reason. Before you go, do one thing to keep this story from vanishing like the others. Smash that like button. Share this with someone who thinks they've seen it all. And hit subscribe so you don't miss the next shift. The darkness has plenty more rules to reveal. And trust me, you'll want to remember them.